Hello and welcome back to Lord of Heroes on Nyris Gaming. We have our new May 3rd update today with our new summon banners and relics. So, let's get into everything, shall we? First things first, of course, we have Lyrae's new outfit. Here it is in all its gorgeous glory. We have a lot of different relics that have been added that we'll have to get into. We have a lot of very handy stuff and some others that are kind of eh. But first, we are going to do some summon pulls to hopefully get Light Syphfride from the new summon banner. That's just going to be on the list now, alongside the contract summon and the link shop. This is going to be available until June 30th, I believe. Let's do some pulls. Okay, so the animation is the same. So we are not going to go through this. Okay, so we got some Fireschneider, Earth Charlotte. I believe this is Light Johann? Light Syphfride. I don't know if I looked through hers. I looked through everyone else's. I don't know if I looked through hers. Waterfram, Lightfram, Earthschneider, Lightfram, Light Syphfride. And I accidentally clicked away. You're guaranteed Syphfride after 90 pulls. I believe I have enough for 70, so hopefully we get her. Okay, right. Yeah, right there. Well, that's fancy. Oh yeah, and here's her non-ascended form. We'll get into all that and her level up details. But yeah, I was guaranteed after 90. I wasn't expecting it after 2 10 pulls. I'm okay with this. Now, unfortunately, with the other heroes, with their relics that were added, they did not add a method to get their aptitude. I don't know how they're going to manage that in the future. Or how, especially, they're going to do that for paid heroes. Because the contract ones, you actually get the hero and their aptitude if you get a duplicate. I don't think they'll make it possible to get the paid heroes for free, but we'll see. What else we got? Some Mikhail, Dark Charlotte, Waterschneider, Water Johann. A lot of these look really cool. Let us first go check out Light Syphfride. Yeah, our first free-to-play Light Cleric here. Here is her intro page, just the same as on her summon banner. Here is her non-ascended, her Ascension 1, and then her Ascension 2 as she appears in War of the Tyrants. So her first ability attacks a selected enemy, fills the user's action gauge by 20%, and reduces her skill cooldown by 1 turn. And it's going to up her action gauge gained up to 30 at max rank, otherwise just does damage. It's real nice, a near third of her action gauge just for doing her one ability, in the same vein as Fire Lucilica. This one, which already starts at 3 turns with her turn-reducing ability, gets down to 2 turns by default at max rank, without the help of her S1. Heals all allies in proportion to her maximum health, and generates a shield based on the same that lasts 2 turns. You get 3 increases in recovery and 1 to the shield. But every other turn S2 that can be reduced even further bar 1, I don't even know if that's entirely necessary. Almost feels a bit overkill. And then her burst attacks all enemies and a 60% chance to reduce their action gauge by 20. Heals all allies in proportion to her maximum health and increases their action gauge by 20%. So it's hitting enemies, reducing their action gauge, boosting your allies' action gauge, and healing them. And it gets down to a 3 spirit cost, and gets to an 80% debuff chance. So very solid all around. Let's take a gander at her relics. So her first one's going to increase her resistance just by default, called Asclepion. Then Unknown Gaze. Upon receiving damage, if the ally currently with the lowest amount of health has any debuff, has a 50% chance to remove one of the most recent debuffs from said ally. And that gets up to, let's see here, 60, 70, 80% chance. And I believe this is upon Syphfride receiving damage, which, if you're getting hit with AoEs, like in the raid, that's going to be happening quite frequently. Her Divine, Void Gate, upon attacking, which is her 1 and her 3, 55% chance to reduce the damage the target deals for 2 turns. That is a very good debuff, and on her burst, which is an AoE, that will hit everyone. That'll get up to... oh, already leveled that one up. So it starts at 50. That goes up to 60, 70, 80% chance, which is very good for a debuff chance. I like it. And we have all of them now from that pull. So we are going to go with this one, because I like the sound of it. Oh, they're like laser guns at the end. Okay, now we're going to go in order of appearance for all of the new relics, starting with Lightfram, because she is second to the top of my list. Okay, so her crit rate is going to be her default weapon, which is very solid for a striker. You have this on, this will be starting at 3%, going up to 15% extra crit rate. Always welcome. However, we're going to skip this one because this is the one I think will be used most. Go to this one first. Imperium Nova Durandal. Upon receiving damage, has a 50% chance to increase the user's attack power for 2 turns. Which gets up to the 80 that a lot of these are. Which is your standard issue attack buff, I would imagine. Which is kind of unnecessary if you know Lightfram. She doubles her attack just by her stacking attack buff alone. So this is a little redundant if you ask me. However, the one thing that strikers often need is a bit more durability, which is where we get to this Heavenly Spear Durandal. If the user deals a critical hit, which she should be doing as a striker, this is from any of her abilities, 50% chance going up to 80 at max rank to grant the user a shield based on her attack power, which should be high as well. So she will be generating personal shields for herself, making her harder to kill, even if she is thoroughly squishy as a striker. This is a welcome relic, and I will be using this as soon as I get it. Next, on to Waterfram. Now we got her Divine. Her starting one is defense, oddly, given she can very much more heavily leverage health, but this will help her with her other defensive stat that you can't leverage quite as heavily with equipment. Her Refined is going to be upon attacking. The user gains 100% more burst gauge. So this is an interesting one, because Fram is a guardian, not a sniper, and at max rank this gives 200% more burst gauge from her attacks, which is all of her abilities, which will triple her burst gauge gain. So this could slot her into a completely different role than her just default debuffer AoE tank. She could actually generate decent amounts of burst gauge, especially in burst formation, I would imagine. We'll have to do some playtesting with that. We're also going to have to redo her hero spotlight now that she has relics. Her Divine, upon receiving damage, which she should be doing as a tank, 80% chance to increase the user's attack power by 10%, which expires after defeating a wave, stacks up to 5 times. So, this is like Lightfram's S1 stacking attack damage buff on Tankfram, but she gets it from receiving damage, and it gets to 100% chance, and it gets to 20% per stack, going up to a whole 100% at max stacks. So this will enable DPS Waterfram much harder, especially in raids at higher levels with more max health with her max health damage burst ability. Who would have thought the person who has Fram as his favorite character has the first 3 of these new relic characters as all of the Frams? On to Firefram, Guardian number 2. Gotta be debuff rate for her first one. She is the AoE provoker Fram of the group. And then her Refined is going to be upon attacking, which is all of her abilities, as stated before. 50% chance to increase the user's defense for 1 turn. This gets up to only a 70, but it ups it to 2 turns of defense. Now this is a bit better because all of her abilities, if I'm remembering correctly, scale off of defense. She has her Fury of the Stalwart as well, which increases her defense the lower health gets. So even more defense on top of everything is always nice. I don't know how redundant this is going to be, especially if you have another person on the team that can provide this buff without this effect. We shall see. Divine Relic, upon attacking, which is all of them again, 50 to 85% chance at max rank to decrease the enemy's resistance for 2 turns. This is welcome, get more debuffs in, especially since she is intended to cause debuffs and provocation with her abilities. Make this easier for her to handle that. I would imagine leaning towards this one. Next up, we have Dark Charlotte, who struggles a bit in the identity field. Is she an off-reser? Is she an AoE DPS? Her first one's going to be crit rate, which is good, as a DPS. Her Refined Relic. If she deals a critical hit, which you should be doing if you're running her DPS, 30% going up to 60% chance to gain an extra turn. Glad this goes over 50%, because it's a bit more reliable. This could make her hit hard and hit often. Her Divine Relic, upon attacking, has a 50 to 85% chance at max rank to remove one of the most recent buffs from the enemy. So this will lean her more into the debuffer, buff purger style of play, especially with her AoE burst, which procs Wither. Earth Charlotte is going to be next. First one's going to be health, which is a good scaling stat for one of her abilities. Refined Relic is going to be upon attacking. Now see, I'm fairly certain upon attacking means abilities that actually attack targets. So unfortunately for Earth Charlotte, that's only going to be her S1. However, this is going to do a 50% chance to heal the ally currently with the lowest amount of health by 15%. Personally, I think this feels a bit redundant, especially since you have her 2 and 3 and her healing set, so I don't know how necessary this is going to be. Her Divine Relic, however, upon attacking, 50% chance going up to 80% to remove one of the most recent buffs from the enemy. This is an excellent addition to her kit on her 1. Now we've got Fire Johann. Crit rate, given he needs to crit to do most of his stuff. Always handy. Refined Relic is going to be upon attacking, which is all of his abilities. Each ally is granted a 30% chance to gain damage resistance for 2 turns. That is very helpful on a cleric, adding extra buffs and damage resistance to all of the team. His Divine is upon receiving damage, 50% chance for the user to take 25% less damage. So personal damage mitigation, similar to Aegis equipment, although not guaranteed. This is going to be a common Johann theme, as we will see with Light Johann. Earthschneider is up next. Attack power on his default. On his Refined, upon attacking, which is all of them, 50% chance to inflict a Wither debuff on the enemy for 2 turns. This is extra Wither for free to play, which is nice because there's not very many options for that. This also gives Earthschneider much more utility than he already has. He's good for sapping, but his sap chance is very low, unfortunately. However, this next one, upon attacking, 50 to 80% chance at max rank to inflict 1 stack of sap damage on the enemy for 1 turn. So this is for all 3 of his abilities, even his burst, which doesn't have sap on it to begin with. So this adds a much more reliable sap to all of his abilities. So Sap Earthschneider might see a bit of a comeback with this. Light Johann, another identity crisis hero, gets a little bit more direction with this. Attack power on his default. His Refined, upon receiving damage, has a chance to take 25% less damage. So it's flip-flop with this and Fire Johann. This will allow you to lean heavier into his DPS form, as this will take care of your defensive angle. His Divine, Upon attacking, 50% chance to inflict 20% damage that ignores defense. This leads you heavier into a more striker style of play, as with their Pierce equipment. Next up is Darkschneider. Darkschneider is our only max health-based Dark DPS, and it's all on his S2, which is why all of these will be focused heavily on his S2. His first one, just as attack power, is Refined if he deals a crit hit, which he should if he's DPS. 50% chance to reduce the user's cooldown by 1 turn. So all of his abilities have the chance to reduce his S2 down. This goes up to an 85% chance. And then his Divine gives him Blitz chance, which I believe gets up to 55 or 60% chance at max rank. So whenever he attacks, he has a chance to trigger 1 Blitz, which will immediately fire off his S2. This is quite handy to pump out more S2s, given those are his main source of DPS against higher health targets. Dark Mikhail, the starter sniper. Speed, which is good on his default, because at least 2 of his abilities scale off speed. Is Refined upon attacking, which is everything. 50% chance to increase the user's action gauge by 20%, which gets up to a 70% chance to do so, and boosts it by 40% at max rank. That is quite sizable, especially if it has high speed. He will be getting turns really fast. His Divine Relic gives him Blitz. This is identical to Darkschneider's Divine. Same stats, same chances, exact same thing. This will keep his speed buff up quite more frequently, and he's a sniper, so he will be producing surge set burst gain more frequently. Water Charlotte, the ever overlooked water cleric. Gonna have health on her default. Her Refined, upon attacking, 50% chance to inflict Wither. So another free-to-play Wither relic, adding much needed utility to this cleric. Her Divine, upon receiving damage, 50% chance to recover 20% health of the ally with the highest attack power. So additional pocket healing. Only problem is this only gets to 80%. So I'm not sure it's all that necessary, might be a bit redundant. I would almost definitely lean towards this, except it's probably only proccing on her 1. Waterschneider, who is kind of a striker, but is a debuffer, oddly enough. Not a DPS as much. He's going to have health on his default. His Refined is, upon attacking, each ally is granted, starting at 40, going up to 60% chance to gain a crit damage increase for 1 turn. So this adds some buffing utility to him, ups to 2 turns at max rank. His Divine, if he deals a critical hit, which, as a DPS he should, each ally is granted a 30% chance to gain a leech buff for 1 turn. So both of these lean more heavily into the buffer striker role. It's a bit strange. Earth Mikhail, Lesser Earth Basilica. Will his relics help him be a bit more relevant? Increase speed, just like his dark form. His Refined, upon attacking, 55% chance to increase the user's action gauge by 20%. This does not go up to 40%, unfortunately, but it has higher chance, so it's a little more on the Fire Basilica end. His Divine, upon attacking, 50% chance to reduce the enemy's speed for 2 turns. Fireschneider, one of the most straightforward characters in the game. All of his abilities are attacks selected or all enemies, heals for damage dealt. However, we get into his relics, gonna have crit damage on his default. His Refined, upon attacking, 30% chance to grant the user Fortitude for 1 turn, which will prevent him from dying, so he can just go ham and ignore damage. And this will have a chance to proc upon any of his abilities because they are all attacks. It only gets up to a 50% chance because of how nuts that could be. His Divine, if he deals a critical hit, which he should be, 50% chance to increase the user's action gauge by 50%, going all the way up to 100%. This would cause all of his actions to be free actions if he crits, which could be quite nuts. Most of us know exactly how lethal Light Olivia is because of her free action burst. She can pump out 2 or 3 of those in a row if you have enough burst gauge. Water Johann, our new charity hero. Gonna have resistance by default, which is always welcome on a tank. Upon receiving damage, 50% chance to increase the user's action gauge by 20%, so similar to Waterfram. Divine is going to be upon receiving damage, 50% chance to remove one of the most recent debuffs. This would make him even harder to hold down and keep out of the fight, which is wonderful to have considering how his abilities already do so this will make it even harder. That is going to do it for this Lord of Heroes update. Until next time, I'll be seeing ya.